This is just going to be a quick and basic landing guide for VTOL VR. This is tailored more towards beginners that have managed to get up in the air but aren't quite sure about how to safely get back down on the runway. This is very much a skill you're going to have to keep practicing. So here I'm just lining myself up. I've got about 3 or 5 miles out, which is what I'd recommend if you're new and learning. You just want to make sure you give yourself enough room to play with, just in case you mess anything up. You don't want to be too high. Basically, you just want to be keeping that vector on the runway the whole time, the little circle you can see there. As long as you've got that vector on the runway, for the most part, you should be fine. You just want to make sure you're not too high up. Otherwise, it could cause issues, and you're probably not going to get the right angle of attack. Okay, so as you can see here, I've got ourselves lined up with the runway. Kind of hard to see the speed there. I think I'm going to just below 200 knots at the moment, so you're going to see me pop down the flaps to 2 and the landing gear down as well. You'll see when I put the landing gear down, you get like this little E bracket come up. Should come up in a moment. Okay, you can see that pop up there. So that's basically just the indicator for our angle of attack. It just helps us maintain the 8 degrees angle of attack that we need for landing, and it just kind of makes everything much more simpler. So all we need to be doing at this point is just slowing down enough that that E bracket is right next to that little circle vector you can see there. We want that circle vector to be in the middle of that E bracket, and at the same time we still want to maintain that vector to be on the runway, because that's where we're going to be, right? So as long as we have the vector on the runway and we have the vector in the middle of the E bracket, we will always maintain 8 degrees angle of attack that you can see there with the little A symbol. And you just want to basically be doing everything you can to make sure everything's lined up perfectly. This is what I mean when I say that it's a skill that you just have to keep working on over time. It's not going to be something you pick up instantly. I mean, you might pick it up quite quickly, but it is something that you just have to learn. It's the muscle memory, it's how the actual aircraft interacts. Basically always making little micro adjustments, slightly adjusting the throttle constantly, not stopping, you're not leaving it in one position. And you're also making sure that you're not making any big movements with the joystick, tiny little adjustments, otherwise you're going to start basically bringing in correction errors, because you're going to oversteer to the left and then you're going to oversteer to the right to correct that, and it's just going to cause instability. So everything has to be nice and controlled, small movements, and just making sure you're on track and keeping everything lined up. The circle vector on the runway in the middle of the E bracket, constantly lined up. And then once you hit the ground, you just apply the brakes and you go to the end of the runway, and then you can just park up.
The taxi path to your parking area. Ground crew standing by.